Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another Scott Selections here for Sunday, October 20th. Before we get into today's play of the day, quick recap of what happened yesterday. We ended up having 3 plays in total, as based on some of the earlier plays we gave out in college football. We ended up going 1-2. Unfortunately, we ended up losing on Army -6.5. We got a bad number there. Line ended up pouring back on Georgia State later on in the week. So sorry about that. We ended up losing on the Gary Sanchez and no hits at +120. I still love the odds there. They let Peacock pitch to him, even though Sanchez has good numbers against him. He had a hit in the second inning, had no hits since, so it was kind of unfortunate. But we ended up getting a blowout winner in the late game with Air Force -3, as they were able to beat Hawaii by about 30. So we ended up going 1-2. Not that great. But in other news, though, we did have the Astros to make the World Series in one of the MLB futures video I gave out a couple weeks ago. So I'll give a recap on that once the World Series is over. But overall, definitely wasn't an awful day. Could have been a lot better, but it definitely could have been a lot worse. But in terms of the play of the day for Sunday, we're actually going to be looking at a prop in the Eagles versus Cowboys game. And in terms of the game itself, I think it's and this game's I think it's very close. I think this game's a toss-up. Eagles guaranteed victory earlier this week, and the Cowboys have played terribly lately, but now it's getting pretty much the bulk of its offensive line back, and Amari Cooper has been declared active, and Byron Jones has been declared active. So the Cowboys are getting healthy at the right time. Same thing with the Eagles. They will be getting probably Darby and Mills back to their secondary, which, I mean, I don't think either of them are that good, but it definitely should help. But in terms of the play of the day in this one, we're going to be taking Carson Wentz over 1.5 touchdown passes, which is available at -118 on FanDuel. Huge line discrepancy here. If you look at DraftKings, Carson Wentz over 1.5 touchdowns at -155, and yet FanDuel has it at -118, so I'm just going to take that every day of the week. In terms of the actual game itself, I'm going to look. No, I thought Peterson of the Eagles guaranteed that they would win. I thought that's what happened, but maybe I'm mistaken. I believe I heard that he said that the Eagles would win. Either or, I still think the Eagles are going to try to throw the ball a lot. The Cowboys, even though their defense has not been great in the last couple of weeks, they're exposed by the Packers, but they did have a solid rush defense against the Jets. I know the Jets' offensive line's worse, but I know that Wentz historically has killed the Cowboys, and I think that the Cowboys secondary has struggled to generate turnovers. Plus, you have Crawford, who's now going to be out for the year, so you have some issues regarding the health of the defensive line. I think Wentz should be able to have a lot of comfort in the pocket with minimal pass rush. You have Robert Quinn and Lawrence. Lawrence has done nothing all year, so maybe he'll do something. But as a whole, I think Wentz should play well. I think this game should be relatively high scoring. But as a whole, by the way, for the record, I've looked it up, and yes, the Eagles coach Doug Peterson did say on, I believe it was Monday, he said that he guarantees the Eagles will win this game. So I don't know. Well, okay. Well, I mean, Jeff, that's what he's supposed to say, but DeMarcus Lawrence from the Cowboys took exception to it and used it as bulletin board material. I mean, I guess I know coach is going to go out and say they're trying to lose. I mean, and that's common sense. But at the same point, Lawrence took it seriously. They're viewing it as one of those guarantee type of situations. It's not a Joe Namath, but as a whole, I agree with you, Jeff. But at the same point, the Cowboys did take that guarantee, quote unquote, to heart, whatever that means. But I still like Wentz over 1.5 touchdown passes. I think that the Cowboys secondary, Byron Jones will be playing, but he's not 100%. Awuzie's had been knocked up as well. I don't really think that the Cowboys secondary is that good. Defense has been exposed the last couple of weeks. The Jets just dropped bombs on the Cowboys through the air. Darnold, a couple touchdown passes in the first half. You had the huge bomb to Robbie Anderson. I think the Eagles, especially with Jeffrey being healthy after he had 10 receptions last week, I think you should see Wentz have a solid performance. I think the Eagles should struggle to run the ball again, as Sanders and Howard have not been that efficient in the backfield. But if you look at Wentz's recent games, he's thrown at least 2 touchdowns in 3 of his last 4 games. And at -118, I think there is just too much value on that to pass up. So the play that I will be on Carson Wentz over 1.5 touchdown passes at -118 on FanDuel. And if you also look at the Cowboys defense in the last couple of weeks, it's been pretty bad. If you look at how the Jets scored last week, they had 2 passing touchdowns by Darnold, so that would send it over. If you look at the week before that, well, I know the Packers ran the ball a lot, so I don't think that Rodgers actually did it, but that was mostly just based on game planning. But as a whole, I think that the Eagles live and die by Wentz. I think he's the most important player. Peterson's going to put the ball in his hands. And I think for that reason, you should see a pretty high scoring game. And I think that Wentz will go over. So that will be the play of the day. Now, in terms of anything else, not really much else to give leans on because all the games, well, for the most part, they're already underway, pretty much every game. In terms of hockey, I could give out some thoughts, but I'll actually look at that really briefly. What do I like here? Lean to Edmonton as an underdog against Winnipeg. That game's going to be at 7 o'clock. Winnipeg has Hellebuck and Ned, who's been pretty solid, but as a whole, Winnipeg's defense has not been great, and Edmonton is still one of the best teams in the Western Conference at this point in time. I think it will be relatively close, but at the end of the day, I think Edmonton is just the better overall team. And I know Winnipeg has a home ice advantage, but everyone knows in hockey it doesn't really mean much. So I think Edmonton shouldn't be this big of an underdog, roughly minus 130. I think McDavid can take over a game along with Draisaitl. I think that they should be somewhere in the realm of maybe plus 110. But based on where they're being priced now, I definitely think that that is a little bit too high. So lean to the Oilers on the money line there. And looking at the rest of the card, what do I like here? Do I like anything? No, that's pretty much it, as I'm not really a fan of anything else on the card, but I would lean to Edmonton as my favorite NHL lean. But the play of the day, once again, will be on Carson Wentz over 1.5 touchdown passes at minus 118 on FanDuel, and that is the play of the day. Other than that, though, that's going to be this installment of Scott Selections here for Sunday, October 20th. Good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.